Hello everybody, CarniGe here, and today I'm going to teach you how to play. That's right, Magic the Gathering. I totally rehearsed that. Anyway, I think I first played this game about 3 years ago, and it was literally love at first game. Completely, utterly adored it. So to give you a basic idea of the rules, because that's what I'm going to do today, because I tried to wangle the camera and so I could show you the battlefield and it didn't work out, so I'm just going to try and explain this video as fast as I can, as simply as I can, and hopefully the next time I post it you can see the battlefield. And here I go, waffling on again. Okay, back to the game. So this is Magic the Gathering. As I mentioned, it's a card game. It's not Yu-Gi-Oh! It's not Pokemon, it's not poker. I don't know what other card games to think of, but it's not like that. It is Magic, okay? This is utterly unique, fantastic game. So, let's start with the rules. Okay, to give you an idea, Magic has 5 different colors. As you can see on the card there, it's got white, blue, black, red, green. Each of these cards are kind of like environments. And for instance, green is forest, red is fire, and black is swamp. And all of these different environments have creatures that live in them. How cool is that? So, for instance, I'm going to start at the very beginning. The object of the game. Let's start with the object of the game, and then I will go back to what each of these colors mean. Object of the game is you start with 20 life. And as you can see, this is like a countdown dice. So you have 20 life and your opponent has 20 life. Pure object of the game is to attack your opponent so that they land on 0 life. And you win. That is the game. There are other ways to win, but in basic terms, your opponent needs to land up on 0 life. That's it. How do we get there? That's the fun part though. So we have a thing in Magic the Gathering called the battlefield. Now I can't show you the battlefield unfortunately, but let's have an imagination and I'll explain it to you. So we have the battlefield. What happens on the battlefield? Okay, as I mentioned, we are trying to get rid of our opponent's 20 life so that we can win. How do we get there? Well, we have fantastic things in this game. Shame I can't call them things. We have fantastic beings that are called creatures. So this, for example, oh, that's a sorcery card. We have fantastic things called, there you go, creatures. Spoiler alert, anybody? Okay, so, oh, this one's got a bit of a reflection because it's got a Yoda sleeve on, but this one is called a creature. How do we know it's called a creature? Because over here, the card says creature, human light. Over here at the top, it gives you the card's name, and on this side over here, how much the card costs in terms of mana, which I will explain to you in the next few seconds. This is a bit of a complex card, but let me show you one in terms of creatures that tells you its abilities and triggers and strength. Okay, so sorry about that one, I chose a really tricky card. So as I mentioned, the card's name, what he's called, so this is a Silverblade Paladin. This one here tells you that it's a creature and that it's a human knight. Over here, it's what this creature can do, whether or not it's soulbound, or like for instance, he's soulbound. Every creature has its like individual ability, if you want to call it that. But down here on this side is attack and defense. So for instance, he's a 2/2, so he's 2 attack, 2 defense. I think that's pretty straightforward. And as I mentioned on this side over here, this is how much he costs and what mana he needs. So he clearly is a white, as on this back of this card, he is a white creature. Okay, so I've mentioned the battlefield. What happens on the battlefield and how do I get this fantastic creature, powerful, almighty creature onto the battlefield? Very simple. In the beginning of the game, you draw 7 cards, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And hopefully you've built a fantastic deck that you actually draw a land card. What is a land card? Or mana, if you want to call it that. For instance, this is a mana card. This card allows you to purchase this card. Makes sense? So, in my first turn, I've pulled 7 cards, hoping that I have a mana card, which you should have. I'm allowed to, per turn, put 1 mana onto the battlefield. So, 1 mana per turn, unless you have a card that states otherwise, but generally it's 1 mana per turn. Okay, so I'm going to try and show you a card that gives you on first turn 1 mana. Let me just try and find it. Okay, so turn 1, I've got 7 cards in my hand. I place a mana onto the battlefield and I tap my land saying I'm using that mana. So I'm paying it. So I don't take it anywhere. It stays there for the rest of the game and I can build it up. But it's in Magic it's called tap it. So you turn it like that, saying, notifying everyone I'm using this mana to purchase something for 1. So for instance, this is a card for 1. How do we know it's for 1? Because over there it states 1 mana, and over here it gives all its details. So this, for instance, is a 2/1. So it attacks for 2 and can defend for 1. Makes sense? I hope so. Okay. So before I get into gameplay, I wanted to tell you what other cards are in there. So that was just covering creatures. Okay. So we know now in Magic you get 5 different colors. Each of those colors have individual creatures that are adapted to those colors. We have mana, planes, if you want to call it that purchase your creatures per turn. And now we are going to chat about what other cards, because there's not only creatures in this game, there are also things such as enchantments. Yes, enchantments you can play on your turn. These are basically all have special abilities. So depending on your gameplay, for instance, this one says you can't attack or block. Okay, so every card has a special ability. Maybe your creatures have these, it depends. I mean, it all depends. You just have to read the fine print. So that is an enchantment that can only be played on your turn. Then you get an instant. And this card is one of my favorites because this can be played any turn. It can be played in my turn, or it can be played in your opponent's turn, because all these other cards that you have are all turn-based, except for instance. I hope I'm making sense. Then, last but not least, you get cards called artifacts. So these stay on the battlefield throughout the whole game. So this guy costs, as you can see on the top here, he costs 0 mana. Doesn't cost anything. So you can put him and put him immediately on the battlefield. But there may be a trick to him. So for instance, this guy, you have to sacrifice him. So you have to tap him and sacrifice him, and then you can use his ability. So it does sound very overwhelming, but I think once you get the hang of it, once you've read the cards and you understand how Magic is turn-based, and unless you have a card that states otherwise, then you are fine. So, gameplay. I'm really struggling to show you this game now without showing the battlefield. So I think I'm going to post the video up to here. So I'm going to recap on what I've just spoken about. If you guys want to hear more about Magic and more about rules and gameplay, let me know, send me a message, then I will place the camera down and figure out a way on how to teach you the game. So let's recap on what we've done. So Magic the Gathering, as I mentioned, is a strategic card game. Has 5 different colors. Each of those colors have creatures that are adapted to that environment. You get cards called mana, which means mana is basically your money. Like in Diablo, you need mana to cast a spell, just like you need mana in Magic to tap and purchase a creature. Okay, creatures you can place out per turn on your turn only. And for instance, this creature card over here, I keep pulling this guy, he's a bit more complex. We've learned at the bottom here that this information, the 2 stands for attack, the 1 stands for defense. All this information over here tells you what the card can do, his abilities, and whether or not he's a bird, a human, an orc, it doesn't matter. So this is basically a creature card. This can help you win the game, as any other card in Magic, but these are what you need in your deck. Okay, so it's plain creatures. Then we have, as recapping the memory, I know it's not a long video, but just to give you an idea, we have enchantments, which are placed also turn-based, but have special abilities that can affect either you or your opponent. And then we have, and obviously these guys can't attack unless put on a creature card. they usually work on creature cards only. So it's you enhancing cards with creature cards. I hope that makes sense. Okay, and then you have your instants, right? And these can be placed whether it's your turn, whether it's your opponent's turn, it doesn't really matter. It can be placed on any turn, as long as you have the mana on your cards to play it. Bear in mind, if you have mana on the battlefield and it is tapped, you can't untap it on your turn. You can't. You have to wait for your opponent's turn, then your turn, and then you can tap it and use it again. So if you have tapped all your mana out and you've used all of these cards and you've used all the mana that you've placed out on every turn, you can't purchase any more cards. So that is how the mana at least works. I think, and you have a sorcery. Oh, I forgot about sorcery. I'm a bit overwhelmed trying to explain this game, but you have a sorcery which is quite straightforward. It's like an instant, but can only be played on your turn, not on your opponent's turn. So if your opponent attacks you, you can't pull this card out and block it. You can only play it on your turn, unlike an instant where that can be played at any turn. I hope this makes sense so far. I hope I've covered most basic stuff. I mean, I haven't spoken really about attacking and blocking. There's a lot more to the game that I need to talk about, but in order for me to do that, I need camera on the cards. So hopefully you guys are keen on learning more Magic. If you are, let me know. Send me a comment. As I mentioned, send me an inbox. I will post something up to give you basically the rules on how to place your cards out in the battlefield and how to attack and defend, when to make choices, what choices to make. I mean, it all varies between person to person, but yes, let me know. And yeah, I'm very happy I'm posting a video. I got a fantastic mail in my YouTube today, so I just wanted to say thank you. It really motivated me to post something again, so I'm so happy. So I didn't really prepare much for tonight, but magic. So I hope you guys are happy with that. Let me know, comments, like, subscribe, whatever, and see you again soon. Bye.